And so I'm really, and I want to really show you pretty much how for us then collaborative economy, the concept of the collaborative economy has been really interlinked with the definition of who we are and what we have been doing. And Ouishare obviously been from being the think tank of the collaborative economy to a collective that was defining himself with his mission of building and nurture a collaborative society by connecting people, organization, and ideas around fairness, opening, and trust. And because nowadays, what I believe as a person and why I am in Ouishare is because I really strongly believe that there is some places in society where people doesn't meet and doesn't talk and doesn't encounters while they are working on the same topic and on the same projects. And my job in a way is to use every single opportunity to bring people together from the margin of society to from the institution, and how can we make those people around the table having a discussion on a topic. And to make it concrete, for example, we have been working for 2 years now on the topic of energy precariousness. And one of the first workshop we've done on that topic was to gather all the associations, all the companies working on that topic. But we gather them with people in situation of energy precariousness. And because actually those people running on the topic never took the time to discuss with the people living this situation. And they never took the time to listen to their story and on what was they living or going through. And that's why so far, many of those agencies failed in finding a way to put those people out of those precariousness situation. And that's why we found a common ground on putting those people together and try to find a common definition, first of all, of what it is, what it means, and then how can we eventually think of a parcours that would help those people to live the situation in which they live in. And all of that is also to say, I don't want to, there is this common quote that says that you don't want to throw the baby out of the bath water. And I feel as well, like, obviously we've learned a lot through focusing on the topic of collaborative economy, because those platforms and the way they work are a great model to questions how can we mobilize and how can we create value for a big crowd. And we've been also quite interested in those methodology and taking, for example, Airbnb, Amazon, and so on. And we've been looking at what they have been doing and say, how can we implement the same processes and the same design, but instead of creating all the value for the shareholder, how can we create the value for the people that interact in those platforms? And this has been actually a topic that was developed, I put it here, from this collective called Platform Design Toolkit. Everything is online, and if you don't know this, I really recommend you to have a look. It's really a methodology that is based on those platforms and that interest in how can we implement that in a different way. And for us, it has been of a great help to design a lot of methodology we've done. And we really wonder how can we enable companies or municipalities to interact with their ecosystem thanks to a methodology of a platform. How can they have a systemic views on the environment where they live, and how can they design a platform that help people to meet, but also to create a value proposition for them. And this platform doesn't have to be online or a digital tool. It can be a place, it can be something physical. And yeah, that was one of the things we've been really interested in, that we tried to make some research out of it, because we believe that from the methodologies they have developed, obviously there is a lot to learn. So this, I'm gonna fast. And all of that has been work we've been focusing on. And today, in a way, and I wanted to finish with this because I know it's a lot of information. We feel that we've been from this collaborative economy to this collaborative society, yet things are moving on in our society. And at the moment, we feel like we need to go one step further, because at least for us as Ouishare, we feel uncomfortable with a lot of things happening in society today. We feel uncomfortable with the fact that the labor market is putting more and more people in situation of precariousness. We feel uncomfortable with the fact that there is an inequality, the level of inequalities is getting big every single day, is growing, and that we have a process of marginalization of people because we never want to listen to them, because we don't hear what they have to say. And that today it feels like sometimes our democracy are almost fake, based on fake processes. And also we are strongly against the idea of solutionalism, in a way that technology is not the solution for everything. And we have the feeling that today we are in a world that only tells us to measure, to innovate, and to accelerate. And well, we've been in the past months saying that we want to, as Ouishare, we feel in a way a need to fight against this thing through every single aspect of our work. And this is why we published a new manifesto this summer. And among this manifesto we express how we want to work and how we want to push one step further what is going to be, but also, and that's for my, I'm going to finish with this. It was also a way to say, okay, we've been working and gathering people all over the world for years through the concept of collaborative economy. And then we stopped because this topic was not our topic anymore. But what about gathering everybody against this summer, next summer, to talk about the thing that our society is going through, to reflect, to debate, and then to depict new alternatives. And that's why we are actually at the moment preparing a new page of what has been our main event for years, the Ouishare Fest, for June 2021 in Paris. It's a way to say that we want to gather once again through collaboration practices and a collaborative culture, people that are ready to step out of their comfort zone and to debate on what's going on. And that's kind of it for my presentation. So for me, it was really important to, reflect a little bit. And as you could see, this topic has been really in the DNA of what Ouishare is today. And that's why we feel, we've been in a way from this collaborative economy principle to the society to fostering a huge culture of collaboration. And the culture of collaboration is something that we need to take care, nurture, and that requires a lot of awareness as well.
Great, Clothilde, thank you very much for the presentation. I guess this is another important piece of the discussion of today in this conference. If there are any questions in the audience, from the audience, then please send a short chat message. Wenn Sie Fragen stellen möchten, bitte einfach die Chat-Funktion nutzen. Ich kann es auch allenfalls gerne versuchen zu übersetzen, wenn das gewünscht ist. Clothilde, in the meantime, I make a question. I have a question for you. So you were the first today to talk about leadership, and we have Werner Feix, for example, with us, professor of leadership at Steinbeis University. we often talk about leadership in combination also with digitalization and the platform economies. So what is leadership in this sense? You were talking about a collaborative leadership. I know there is also this definition of shared leadership. So what is this? Can you describe this leadership? Because you were telling us this is a new type of leadership, and one central element of this kind of leadership is that there is no boss. Okay, so far so good. But what does it mean to share leadership and to have a kind of collaborative leadership? I would be interested to know about that.
Well, for us, it was really a way to say that Ouishare is built through different forces and different peoples, and how can we all learn from each other. And so the idea and how we design this organization is pretty much to say that for us, the leaders on a topic is going to evolve, and it's not going to be always the same person. And how can we make sure that our organization support that sometimes some people are more are going to be more responsible or reference on a topic. And for example, one of our values is the duocracy. So the duocracy is that the people that are doing things are having the legitimacy. They are having the legitimacy, the support from the collective. And that's one of the things that is based on leadership. When I say there is no boss, or for example, when I talk about hierarchy, is because for example, we wrote a really interesting article back then that is called Cut the Bullshit, Organization with No Hierarchy Do Not Exist. And this is based on what we've learned, is to say there is hierarchy. They can just be evolving, changing, and they do not have to be fixed. And that's for us when the concept of distributive leaderships comes in and work, is to say that, of course, some people are having more skills or reference, or being more in a way to lead on some topics, and you always have leaders and followers, but how can we make sure that those are not fixed things and they can evolve, and that we can all like nurture and nourish ourselves and all together? So that's for me what I mean by distributive leaderships.
Yeah, thank you. In relation to that question, at the end of your presentation, you were talking about the comfort zone. We should try to go out from the comfort zone. This is the case definitely also for our region. We are the most northern region of Italy, but I would say we are almost from an economic point of view a rich region. So how bring people out from that comfort zone into a passion zone? What kind of leadership do we need then? Is it enough to explain that we have to share, and that we are following certain values such as fairness, openness, and trust, as you were explaining us? So how can we bring out people? How can do we need revolutions, or is it better to start with evolutionary steps? So do we need a very, let me say, crisis situations in order to have an impulse for starting that kind of platform?
I don't think we need a crisis or a revolution, or I'm not so much in the moves of the collapsology processes and so on.
Yeah, great collapsology.
I'm not so much in those moves yet. I believe that if you want people to change their practices and their culture, this is a long-term processes, and we should already first of all start thinking in long terms, and how can we create infrastructures that foster those collaboration, that foster those way of changing the way we work, the way we live together and so on. For example, I have been working for 2 years now with a big gas company, a gas provider in France. And the idea with this company was to say, when I started working with them, was to tell them that I don't believe they are working in the ecological transition. I told them that I do, like, you have the feeling you're working on that topic, yet let me doubt about that. Because I strongly believe that even though you have offices everywhere in France, which makes you in a position to really know, to have a local impact, yet you don't work with any actors that is having local impact on the topic of ecological transition. And so the first step in a way was that they trusted us to say, okay, let's see about that. And let's imagine and do an experimentation together. That was the first step, that they trusted us to work. But then we had to show them. We had to show them the processes. We had to be, of course, to inspire, but also to go on the field and to let them know and to reveal to them that indeed the overviews they had on their territory in comparison to our view of the territory where we were complete opposites. Like the actors were not on the same diagram at all, that we did 2 diagrams. And so in a way, this is, and I'm telling this story because once we revealed that what they were doing was not so accurate to what they believed they were doing, then it was easier to make them change, to start to work with them, to make them take time to work on that processes and to influence their culture. And that's why when I think we talk about putting people out of comfort zone, when we talk about changing a culture in an organization or in a city to have more collaboration and so on, those are practices that we first of all need to think in a long term, and often we need to have somebody internally that is reluctant to work on that, to dedicate time for nurturing this collaboration.
Yeah, thank you for this answer. It's definitely something which is related to long-term implementation steps and processes. I agree on that. There is another question in the chat. Is there any best practice example of similar rural places or valleys like ours, which took common action and was able to gain mentionable results? Hannes Götsch from Basis is asking that to you.
Well, at the moment,
we obviously we always distinguish between rural and urban places. Even probably some elements are always the same, but nevertheless, rural places, they have some different circumstances to follow.
To be honest, I think that on some topic, rural places are much more in advance than many metropolitan area. Big time, at least in France, for example, I just started a project 2 weeks ago. And the purpose of this research is to go on 3 rural areas in France that are pioneers in terms of ecological transition practices. And what we're going to do is to get to know what they've done on a local scale. And because we just realized that we have a lot of reports that talk about the ecological transition. We have thousands of reports online, yet it's not happening. It's not evolving. We don't see that the society is completely taking the shift for those ecological transition. So our point of view was to say, can we maybe have another way to transmit what is going on? And can we actually try to give the knowledge and to give access to the knowledge in a different way? And that's one of the projects we are about to start, of saying that too often we are looking at the metropolitan areas, like the place where a lot of things happening. Today, I just believe that at least in France, of what I've known for France in my knowledge, is like all the pioneers areas are not in the metropolitan districts, for sure no, because they always and that's also a little bit what was going on this report for collaborative practices in middle-sized cities. The middle-sized city is a perfect size if you want to implement collaborative practices. It's easier. And so, yeah, I don't know if I can give one example necessarily. It depends on the topic, on the precise topic, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Just to have a better idea how you think also about these differences between urban and rural areas also. Yeah. So
I think that just to add something, I think that too often we've seen everything, all the practice being top down, and today it's still one of the main processes, having top down processes, especially in cities, also because you are looking for way to monetize your projects and so on. While in rural area, most of the time, what we've seen of working with some of the collectives is like, it's complete different processes it's more bottom-up processes. And this is what create those collaborative practices and so on. And which is why I think I really think that actually when we are looking for good examples of what's going on, we should better often look at the smaller scale than the big scale.
Yeah. Another chat message coming from Daria. Great, many thanks, Clothilde. You mentioned Ouishare is all about bringing people from different organizations and backgrounds together. What are the biggest successes in terms of new collaborations you've had as Ouishare? Which common needs did you satisfy? The quick wins and the long-term wins.
Yeah, I can tell about one, quite a funny one. Often we see competition being, the main driver in society for many things. And last year we organized an event, a big event in Lille in northern France. And our two financial partners were two insurance companies, which is a bit strange because most of the time, either you go to one or you go to the other one, but you don't try to have like two competitors being both your partners. But for us as Ouishare, it's a way to say, hey, it's not about competition, it's about promoting an event that tries to bring a topic on the table. And on that topic, it was the impact of digital transformation on society. So we brought two partners, and so this collaboration for us is a process. First of all, those partners didn't have the chance to have a space in the, they didn't have the right to have any documents printed. They couldn't have their logo everywhere. We were thinking on how can they develop experiences that are related, that are correlated with what they are doing as an insurance company in the event. How can they really create values for this event? And we've been working with them on a program they could have during this event. And we put them together in relation as well. And what happened at the end is that those two insurance companies that were completely competitors became quite good friends. And so as they became so close that they decided to organize an event together without us, actually. And that was really one of the, in a way, this is a funny history for me of what it brought, that having those two companies that ended up building an event together on the topic of, and the impact of, so it's a quite tough topic though, it's on death and how the digital is having an impact on death. And this is something where they knew that the insurance didn't write anything about that. They were not taking care about this topic at all. And they started it last year and they are reproducing now this year again. And they have a lot of followers on that program. because now a lot of researchers are working on that thing, and all started from being able not to see each other as like competitors, and on the fact that I don't want to be in this event because he is, and my value of proposition is not good enough if we are. So it was really, how can we make sure that those two companies get to understand that they better have to do things together? And so this for me was one of the big success, because it was a long process in a way.
Mm-hmm. Super, great. Well, Clothilde, I have to say thank you very much for this great presentation, and also congrats for the success of Ouishare and bringing forward the idea of not so much a collaborative economy, but much more collaborative society, and implementing the sharing idea in a fair way, in a sustainable way. So thank you very much. For sure, we will have important inputs now for the sessions. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.